have behind me is so last time we met, Ruthie is no longer with us. Well, she's with us, but now she's working at the health department. I lost about 40 to 45 employees that we had to reassign to different employees. So different departments. I'm sorry. So Parks and Rec, we got hit pretty hard. Being all this, everything's closed down. So with me here is Christy Calderon. She'll be recording the minutes and all that, so that we can have it. And again, I know it's been kind of crazy, and I'm glad we're meeting now. I think the course will be going on this, but let's go ahead and follow. Let's go ahead and Mr. Jacobs, you want to call the meeting to order so that we can do our whenever you're ready. So we can do our check.
Let's call the meeting to order.
Second.
Okay, let me go ahead and check roll. Mr. Rick Garza.
Here.
Mr. Luis Pellegrin.
Here.
Mr. Robert Mancha. He's not here. Mr. Berno Slight. Mr. Joaquin Rodriguez.
Present.
Mr. Tony Martinez. Mr. Tony Martinez. Mr. Gary Jacobs.
Present.
And Mr. Joe Garza, right? I already called you. Are you here, Joe?
I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Chair, we got a quorum. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me go ahead and I hope you all got the agenda. So I'll let you all in the minutes. We sent you all the minutes. I think you want to just go see so we can approve them and move on.
Ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the March 13th meeting.
Second.
In favor?
I'm in favor.
Any opposed?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
That's me, Pellegrin. I
Pellegrin,
was just
okay.
wondering, should we introduce ourselves every time we say something to know
Yeah.
who's talking? Or
Yes, sir. I agree, because that way it makes it easier. It makes it easier for Ms. Calderon to record. Okay, with
Yes,
the
sir.
minutes.
Okay.
That'll be easier for us.
Okay. Well, I second it. Luke.
Luis Pellegrin seconded. Mr. Jacobs brought it to motion.
It
Okay.
was unanimous.
All right. Nobody signed up for public comments. So we'll go on to item number 4, items for discussion with possible action. So Mr. Ramon Chavez is our city engineer. He's going to come up and present. As you can see there, the naming of the new entrance for the street for the golf course. I know they want to move forward with the plan, and I'll let him take it from there because he's more familiar with this item on the agenda. Mr. Chavez, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Ramon Chavez, and I'm the city engineer. And first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. As you may or may not know, the city is in the process of platting the entrance to the golf course, which was originally deeded through a special warranty deed. And as part of the obligations in relation to the municipal golf course development agreement, the city is moving forward with the plat. The city has received already preliminary approval on August the 6th of this year for the entrance of the golf course. As part of, before a plat gets recorded, the naming of the street has to be included as part of the plat. And speaking to the city manager, I recommended to him to perhaps bring it before the committee so that you may name ultimately the street and the entrance to the golf course. And that is the main reason that you have this item here presented before you.
about the Max Boulevard?
Well, yeah. I was wondering. This is Lou. I was wondering, did anybody come up with a list of candidates for names? I mean, do you all have your druthers?
I haven't seen a list, Ron.
No.
I'm kind of just, I don't know if it makes any sense, but it seems to me we ought to try to maximize identity of the golf course. So, to me, it's the Max Boulevard or the Max Way or Max something, to have to do with what we call the course. I don't know what Dennis thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It just gives us more, I guess, identification for that purpose. Anything with the Max Way kind of sounds kind of nice. Also, Max Boulevard, Max Drive, being that driving golfers anonymous, Max Way, whatever. As long as the word Max would be in it or the name of it, so that it could, remain as an identifiable street going into the golf course.
Kind of corny, you call it Max Drive.
Well, the Pellegrin again. I really believe that we ought to be naming it after the Mandel family in one way or another. Maybe Mandel Drive or something. I mean,
I appreciate that. I would vote for, and it's very nice the thought, but I would, since we already have Max's name on the course, I think the community over the years is now identifying the city course as the Max, even though the formal name is the Max A. Mandel. But I think we have other opportunities if we want to, we're negotiating with the school district to put a major school complex across the road from the Max. So we could, ask them to name a school after my mother-in-law or something. But why don't we stick with Max Way or Max Boulevard or Max Drive or something like that?
well, that's good with me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Anybody else in the committee, Mr. Rick Garza or Mr. Joaquin? Any?
Well, I mean, that'd be perfect because it does add more. It's more. I think Max Boulevard or Max Way is very inviting to the public and to anybody that's going to go in there. I'm already thinking about how it's going to look after everything around it is up and going, and how beautiful that entrance is going to be. And I think it's probably going to have to be expanded. I can already see it tree lined, and there's going to be a special entrance.
Yeah, it's going to be landscape. What do y'all think about either Max Way or the Max Way?
I like the Max Way.
Yeah, the Max Way sounds very good.
Okay.
Rick, you might know that street is where you call the 13th fairway for you.
That's Rick's.
If I had my way, then I'd call it my 13th fairway.
That's where he breaks windshields when they're driving in.
Okay.
Well, you want to vote,
I vote.
Mr. Chair? You want to make a motion, Mr.
Shall
Chair?
we?
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion then that we name the street.
Identify yourself, Rick. Identify yourself.
My name is Rick Garza. I'll make the motion, and I believe the word was the Max Way Boulevard or the Max Way?
The Max Way.
The Max Way. I make a motion that we name that the entrance road, the Max Way.
I don't like it.
I'll second that. That's Joe
This is Louis again. Hey, listen, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in there, but I don't know of any other streets that you put THE before the name of the street. I think just Max Way. I mean,
It's in the email. Well, you don't call in. You just.
You might be right.
right.
I don't know. Now that you mention it, I don't know if I've ever heard of one with the, but
Yeah, let's just do Max Way. I mean, that's plenty.
It'll make it that much more unique, though.
What eventually would be the address?
Guys, sorry, Rodriguez here. I mean, I think it's more of a boulevard, right? Because a boulevard is a street with trees lining the sides or with trees in the middle. So, I mean, we have to know like what we're talking about here. Is it an avenue? Is it a boulevard? It's not a street, but I'm thinking boulevard would be more appropriate considering what Mr. Jacobs is saying about the landscaping and the trees lining the boulevard.
it's okay. It could be Maxway Boulevard or Maxway.
I like Max Boulevard.
Oh, Max Boulevard.
Max Boulevard.
Oh, I see. Instead of way.
Yeah.
I don't want to micromanage this. I probably should consult with other people, but I kind of like way in there, so it can't be Max Way Boulevard.
Sure can.
Yes, it can.
We're spelling that W-A-Y, right? Not B-U-E-Y.
That's correct.
Or
Okay.
it could also if Boulevard is too long, it could be Maxway Drive.
So a way is defined as a small side street off a road.
So it's an
So all of these monikers have a meaning and they describe a different type of thoroughfare.
So then why do we need anything other than Max Way?
Well, because it would be so the street would be Max Way. So we're saying that road is a small side street off of a road. If the definition fits
off the Mines Road. It is
it's off of Mines Road. Okay.
I think by definition, it's that.
Max Way is simple. It's simple. I don't know if there's any other ways in Laredo, and it has a lot of subtle meanings. You know, the lifestyle of the golf course, the way you play the golf course. I don't know. I kind of like Max Way.
It's got a little winding in there, which makes it even a little bit. It puts a country setting to it. The way I like the way, not the G-U-W. I mean E-Y, but W-A-Y. I like the W-A-Y. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying M-A-X, Max, and then Way, W-A-Y. Is that what y'all are saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to get clarification, but that way y'all put it to a motion so we can put it there, and Mr. Chavez can.
I'd like to move that we name the entrance road to the Max Golf Course Max Way.
I second it.
Second.
Two different words, Max dash space Way. Is that correct?
Well, it's just Max
dash.
space. 2 words.
2 words.
Max space
Yeah.
Way.
Okay.
2 words.
Right.
Who seconded that?
Oh, Joe Garza.
Joe Garza seconded.
Okay, Joe Garza second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Everybody agreed. Come on.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the committee's recommendation in order for us to continue to move forward with this plan. Appreciate it.
Ramon, are you going to stay on?
Yes, sir. I'll stay on, Mr. Jacobs.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you all, gentlemen. Let's go to the next item. Staff reports, and I'll let Mr. McGee. One of the things, Mr. McGee is also a golfer as well. We were out there playing a couple of weeks ago, and I told him when we drove up there early in the morning. I think we had a tee time at 7 a.m. And one of the things that I told him, you know what, Mr. Dan, is that we know where it is, but a lot of people won't know where the max is. Even if you put it on your map, it's the signs are kind of small to find. When you're 6 miles away, and then I think it says 2 miles away, something like that. Is that correct, Dan? So I told him that possibly we can maybe come up with bigger signs. And he's from Texas. I know there's a little bit more explanation to it, but I'll let Mr. McGee take over from here as far as the entrance signs. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, I guess just for everybody's benefit, I've been with the city going on 15 months. Prior to that, I was with TxDOT. The current signs that are out there were some signs that I authorized when I was still with TxDOT a few years ago. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because golf course signs technically shouldn't be on state roads. But in an effort to help the city back then, being, and I use a very loose interpretation of the word golfer, being I was, and I remember going out there and they were telling me they had very minimal people going at the time. This is several years ago. So in an effort to help out with the city, I talked to my district engineer and I convinced him to allow these signs to go out there. So they're not really allowed, it's a discretion of the district engineer. Saying all that, we came up with some designs on improving the signs that are out there. When I drive out there, even though I know where it is, sometimes you're driving out there and you say you forget how much further it is. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe augment those signs later on. But the very first thing I want to look at is just upgrading the signs that we have out there now. And we can do them with excuse that they're faded. Signs have to be replaced over time, every 5, 6, 7 years. So we can do that excuse. Can I share my screen with you guys real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Let me bring that up real quick. Let's see. Do you see the sign right now? It says Maxim Mandel Golf Course with an arrow.
No, we don't.
You don't see it?
No, not right now, Dan.
All right. Let me know when you get it.
I think it's coming on.
All right.
There it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the sign that is right at the crossover point as you're coming from Laredo to the Max. Okay. The reason I bring that up is because with the planning that's being done right now, it would be real easy to put another sign pointing to the street instead of the golf course. Am I making sense? In other words, TxDOT puts signs all the time for county roads and streets that aren't noticeable from the highway. So that would be an easy thing to have TxDOT do. In other words, once you decide on the name, I think you said the Max Way or something like that, then that would be a separate sign pointing towards the golf course from both directions.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Now the sign that you're looking at here, this sign here is 4 feet high by 6 feet wide. Okay. To get the sign that size, we had to go with this much smaller font. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that's a 6-inch font. On highway sizes, it's not very big.
Dan, excuse me. What size of sign do we have there right now?
This is the sign we have out there, 4 feet high by 6 feet wide.
Okay.
Okay. Now I don't know if I have to stop sharing, if I can just switch. I want to show you the one that we're proposing, and I want to make a suggestion, I guess. Let me stop sharing this one. I'll share the other one. I'm not sure if I can just switch from one to the other, but let me switch the other one. Okay, let me share it real quick. I'm kind of a newbie at.
I get you. I'm the same way too.
All right. So do you see that one says golf course 6 miles?
Yes.
Okay. That one also is six feet wide by 4 feet high. Okay. Now the obvious difference is what? That we took out the name of the golf course. That's just a suggestion. You guys tell me if the name is a deal breaker or not. But the reason I'm suggesting this is for 2 reasons. First of all, remember I said that the golf course signs are not supposed to be out there. In recent years, TxDOT had gone to making things simpler on the road. For instance, I'll give you an example. Cemetery signs. Cemeteries usually have a name. It'll be the something Memorial Cemetery. So they were going to having just cemetery with an arrow as opposed to the name of the cemetery. And the rationale is if you're looking for a cemetery in a certain area, you should know that that's the one you're looking for, right? So that's the same thing here. And the other thing is this would allow me to keep the same size sign. I don't know if you can see the dimensions on it, but it's still 4 feet high by 6 feet wide. But now what changed is I have a font of 12 inches. I doubled the size of the lettering. And what that allows me to do is here in the city, we use much cheaper, less expensive sign supports. When you're on textile right away, they have to be on breakaway sign supports and everything. So this sign would stay the same, and I could just go remove the old one and put this new one up there. And I'm sure I can easily convince them, hey, we're just doing this because the old sign is faded.
What, Dan, Gary,
Yes, sir.
what proposing that the sign say instead of golf course 6 miles? What's your suggestion?
Well, this is my suggestion. The old signs say the Max Mandel
Oh, I
golf course. So I'm putting just the text that the traveling public would need to get to the golf course by making it and it allows me to make it bigger. I will put it back up, but let me just read it real quick. The old one says Max A. Mandel Municipal Golf Course.
yeah.
So by taking off Max A. Mandel Municipal, I'm able to put the words golf course in twice the size lettering.
What about what happens to your letters if you put, instead of just golf course, if you put the max and then another word golf 6 miles?
I could do that, and that's the reason we just came up with these, I guess samples, if you want to call them that. And you guys tell me what you want to see on there, and that's what I'll pitch the text on.
I've seen, this is Rick, I've seen, because San Antonio and other places, when there's a major, I guess, amusement area, like for instance, it tells you consistently when you're going to get off to go to SeaWorld off of 410.
Yes.
And so they get to use the name SeaWorld in there. So I would think that the Max Golf Course or any version of that can be placed on that, because it's a major area, or it's a major structure or venue for the city. So I don't think there'd be a problem in them putting the Max Golf Course in there.
Yeah, in other words, if you want to save words, what we're trying to do, it's a good analogy with SeaWorld. Everybody knows the brand SeaWorld. We're really trying to brand Laredo as having this famous Robert Trent Jones golf course that everybody should want to play, called, quote, the Max. So, to me, as long as you have the word golf in there, the Max Golf 6 miles, that'll be pretty obvious to people. And we then get to promote the brand of the course, and the highway message is there that it's 6 miles. Dan, I think we have a blue screen from you now. I do.
Dan, I think you take your microphone's off.
Oh, my mic's off?
No, Dan's microphone. Dan, can you talk? Can you hear us?
There you go.
We can hear you, Dan.
Something may be wrong with his connection.
He's buffering.
We can hear you now.
Dan, can you talk?
You went back to mute.
He's muted. Unmute yourself.
Okay.
We wait for Dan to unmute. Also, now speaking about SeaWorld and all that, maybe just putting the logo also there, how we have that nice M with a river running through it, just to add a little more identification. I don't know if they allow it. I know I've seen it on the highways, but it might be a different scenario where your Denny's is coming up and they have their logo on it.
And you're still muted.
I've also seen it with the Alamo, has that same thing also coming off the I-35. They have the little logo of the Alamo right next to next exit for the Alamo or whatever. But
I think, guys, I think we're kind of comparing apples to oranges. I mean, you have SeaWorld, that's an amusement park. It's a lot bigger than our golf course. Then you have the Alamo, that's a historical bigger yet, but I mean, anything to it would be perfect. Taking out municipal,
Guys, this is Lou again. It's my feeling that if somebody's going out on the Mines Road with their golf course, with
Is
rather
going
their
to say
golf clubs in their truck or in their car, they're looking for the sign. And so, I don't know of anybody that's passed by that sign. I just don't think it's necessary to reinvent the wheel here. Just my feeling.
Well, but would you be in favor of saying the max golf 6 miles?
Who's gonna be paying for the sign is my first question.
The city.
Okay. Well,
how much is the sign? This is Joaquin.
I think there's a hell of a lot of other things we need to be talking about other than crazy sign.
Okay, Dan's back. Dan, you're on.
No, Dan, we still can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, I had to call in. I don't know what happened to my computer. You can hear me fine?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I guess what I was saying is just have JJ or whoever is the head of this committee just send me an email with exactly how you want it, and we will redraw the sign and get you to approve it, and then that's what I'll pitch to TxDOT. I'm at your disposal, whatever you want. I'll try and pitch to TxDOT.
The question is,
Mr. McGee.
would TxDOT pay for the sign?
No, it's on us.
Mr. McGee, this is Joaquin Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
How much is the sign, sir?
Not sure. We'll have to get a price. It's not that much. It's in the hundreds, not thousands.
Okay.
So if that's the case and the city's going to pay for it, I think in moving forward with this is just having our say as to what needs to be placed out there that's within the parameters of TxDOT. I really think that at every point that we have something an opportunity to promote, we need to promote, because I mean sooner or later that whole area is going to be swamped, God willing, with businesses thriving, and it'll be nice that we have some sort of logo or something that we can benefit from now that we're doing it. Right now it might not serve its purpose, but later on I think it will.
Okay. The only thing I want to add to all that is that, like earlier, you were talking about SeaWorld. Okay, and I don't know if you remember the whole conversation I started off that these signs were not supposed to be out there. A golf course does not. The golf course it doesn't meet the what's called a traffic generator status like SeaWorld does and other museums and stuff like that. In other words, not everything is allowed. So we have to tread kind of lightly. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, I know everybody at TxDOT, so either helps me or helps us. So just tell me it is what you want, and that's what I'll pitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, within the parameters of what it would do. But I think, yeah. So I think we need to pitch one or two ideas and then have Dan run with them.
Mr. McGee.
What I would like to suggest is a two-pronged approach. I mean, like I said, I'm a golfer, and I think it's a gorgeous golf course, and I would like to see more people go out there and now that I'm with the city, of course, I wanted to work even more. But the first prong to me would be we go out, update the signs that are out there, and then possibly come back and even add additional signs. In my opinion, we need more signs out there. But that's what I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Mr. McGee.
Pellegrin again, and guys, I don't think you're missing any golfers that are going out there to play golf. I don't think they're passing by those signs and going off to El Indio. If they're going out there to play golf, they're going to find the golf course. And,
right.
As far as spending money is concerned, I would think if you want to promote the golf course, put a damn ad in Golf Digest and get people from South Texas to come down here. That's going to get some exposure. The sign doesn't mean squat as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the only thing I would add is that I remember when I first started going out there, everyone tells you the golf course is, 10, 16 miles out of town. And once you're on the road, you get a couple signs. But I would like to see something in the Mines Road area, right where it's close to Loop 20. It shows you something that says there, max golf course 10, 15 miles. So you're on the right road and you feel confident about where you're going, that kind of thing. That would be my suggestion.
This is Gary. I think that, Louis, that is a good idea. Um, good news and bad news. I have a friend in San Antonio who's a terrific golfer. He's my age. He went to University of Texas, and when Joanne Bruni was a golf champion there, and he's chairman of the Greens Committee of the San Antonio Country Club. And he'd never been to see the Max. And, this guy's a world-class golfer, 77 years old. So I took him down there the other day. He was totally blown away. He's lived in San Antonio 50 years. He didn't have any idea this golf course existed. He was so blown away. He said, there's no way we could spend $10 million redoing our fairways. We couldn't touch this golf course. He didn't know how to get there. So he drove down from San Antonio. He didn't know if he should take the toll road or if he should go to Loop 20. I think it's a reasonable suggestion to have a southbound sign that can be viewed by southbound traffic that Danny brought up. This is a digression, Louis, from what you call the signs on the Mines Road. But, we want the truckers, we want the logistics people, we want all those people to come play the course. So I do think more signs strategically placed might be better. And I don't think they're very expensive. It's very cheap advertising. You invest it one time, and that's it. Every 10 years, you replace the sign.
Mr. McGee, this is
Yes, sir.
Joaquin Rodriguez. I have a question. I know that you started the conversation with golf courses typically don't get these signs from TxDOT. I mean, since we're bringing up more signs or newer signs, is there any way that TxDOT may say, you know what, we don't even allow these and then take them away? Is that a possibility, Mr. McGee? That's my question.
I don't think so, only because I was the one that approved them back then, and the DE that approved, allowed me to do it is no longer there. So most of these signs, once they're out there, they're kind of grandfathered in. I don't think so, but we are expected to maintain them. So that's the reason I want to do this two-prong approach. Is let's maintain and upgrade the ones we have right now, and then we can push our luck with the other ones. Does that make sense?
Okay. It does, sir. Thank you for answering my question.
Mm-hmm. But I think we're good. I don't think we'll endanger all the signs getting pulled or anything.
So Danny, what do you think about another couple of signs somewhere? I mean, how would we go about that to point people off of I-35 to get them in the right direction?
In my opinion, I think it would be a really good thing. And like you said, it's some relatively inexpensive advertising. Just for my own personal, I push this golf course as much as I can. I tell people it's phenomenal. I think the city went way up above what they needed to, and they got a championship course, and it's just not known. And that's why I was behind it even when I was at TxDOT. Like I said, I tried to help the city because it was so great, and nobody was playing it.
If I may add also, gentlemen, this is JJ. The word is out there that a lot of people have been inquiring about weddings that are not golfers. That hey, we heard the golf has the Max has a reception, so hopefully we get once we get this pandemic. And I'll get called, even friends of mine say, hey, where is it? Where can we get there? And hopefully we can once we get this pandemic and we have events out there that we can. The more direction we can give them will be better, is my opinion on that. They know where exactly, because hopefully a lot of people have been inquiring, and Dennis can vouch for this. They want to have their gatherings over there. So just to help out.
Can I interject something real quick? Just as an example, okay? Not everyone's a golfer. Everyone's has different tastes. How many people on this call right now know that the city of Laredo has a water museum? Honestly, please, let me know.
I didn't know that.
Okay, they have a water museum, and it's fantastic. You know how I found about it? The CVB has a tour every 2 or 3 months. You sign up for it; it's free. They take you out there. It is fantastic. You don't think the city of Laredo can do something like that? It's the same thing with the golf course. Nobody knows it's there, and they don't expect it from Laredo, so they don't look for it. But that water museum is fantastic, and the golf course is fantastic.
Let me just Gary, so to kind of wrap this up, and it's a really good discussion, Danny and JJ, and I appreciate it. So if we could maybe the committee delegate to Danny, JJ, Ramon, whomever, to go ahead and see what they can do to get more signage, and then to get text dot permission to adjust the signs that are there. I think that would be good. So I would move that we give them the authority to work on this.
This is Lou again. Again, we're trying to attract people from out of town, and if we were to have a billboard on the highway before you get to the Mines Road, with a big fletch, pointing you to the Mines Road, that I think that we'd get a lot of play out of that. Hello.
I agree with that. This is Danny McGee. I agree with that.
Would be Louis, that would be tourists and conventions. I think it's a very good idea. They change their billboards from time to time, but they have the budget to do that. It can't be too busy. In other words, it's got to it's got to kind of catch your eye because you're driving 60, 70 miles an hour and know what exit to get off. It's the right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah. White space sells. And so, the fewest amount of BS that we can put on the sign, but giving people directions to get to the golf course, I think is the way to go. And then I think Dennis had brought it up a long time ago in one of our meetings, the water tower. Golly, that's a beautiful opportunity to put something up there too.
that's a great idea. What's painted on that water tower? I drive by it every week.
Well, it's Canizales, the brother Canizales, the fighters, the boxers.
So
home of Gabby and Orlando Canizales, I believe.
So
and it's very faded.
So
I bet it'd be expensive as hell to paint something up there, but man, you're going to get a lot of exposure.
that's a great idea. Maybe someone could talk to Riazul Mia. I guess that's a waterworks or public works kind of deal, and see if you could paint the max on there with an arrow or a message, what exit or whatever. I don't know.
Well, if I can say something real quick, sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
This is Danny McGee, and this is just me as a golfer and not so much as a traffic engineer, but if I'm driving on the road somewhere and I see a golf course sign, it might interest me, not so much. But if I see it says Robert Trent Design Golf Course,
yep,
that's going to catch my attention really quick.
Darn right.
As a golfer.
But you're absolutely right. And so if we were lucky enough to get the water tower painted, it should say Robert Trent Jones. But refresh my memory, guys. I've only been doing this my whole life. But if you're driving south on I-35 and you want to get on the Mines Road, there isn't a right turn there, right? You got to get off on.
Gary, I think it's strategically placed. The water tower is in the right position for us.
I just don't remember when we built the overpass over the railroad tracks on 35. Isn't that there's not a similar overpass if you're in the southbound lane? That's only for westbound and northbound traffic. So if you're coming south and you get to the water tower, where do you turn right to get on the Mines Road?
What exit? Is it the Del Mar exit?
No.
You get off on the Del Mar exit. No.
The best way would be to have it go to the direct connector at the mile 7. That's the best way to go from 35 to Mines Road.
Okay.
You know where
That's a good-
all the big overpasses are? The big interchange? There's a direct connector that goes from southbound 35 to Loop 20 to Mines Road.
That's where the sign has to be. Unfortunately, you can still put it on the water tower, but there's no way to turn right onto the Mines Road. You have to get off on Del Mar, and then you got to go under 35 and go back north to get on.
Yeah.
Am I right, Joaquin?
Yes, yes, sir. That would be the only way. Your fastest route is 35 south, loop 20, and then gain access there on that right.
Yeah.
That's the fast. So it should be before you 35 and loop 20 with like an arrow saying turn right when you get off the exit, hit this road, and then keep going for 10 miles.
So Danny, that's a project for you for sure.
Thank you.
Let me say, JJ, while we're on this subject of golf course visibility, and I love what Danny just said about the uniqueness of the course, and I'm also continually inspired by people that I sneak up on to go down there from other golf venues that are blown away. So I have been in negotiations in Comillas with the Corps of Engineers and Customs and Border Protection for a year on the prospect of them condemning remaining Mandel family land and the golf course land to build this wall or fence. Even though I'm philosophically opposed to those barriers, I do accept the inevitability, at least right now, that something bad is going to happen. So instead of fighting with the Corps of Engineers and CBP, I decided to be nice to them and see if we could reason with them. And so I spent a lot of energy walking the Vega, where the pumps are, all that land that the Mandel family donated to the city. Incidentally, a unnamed city councilman questioned what standing I have to stick my nose in this. And the standing is that I put a specific prohibition in the gift deed 11 years ago that the city can't voluntarily donate any land that the Mandels gave that city for the construction of a wall or a fence. 11 years ago, I put that in there. So there's a prohibition. That doesn't mean they can't condemn it. They can, but the city can't say, as the mayor suggested, oh, well, King's X, we're just going to give you this. You might be able to give them other parkland, but you can't give them our parkland. There's also a state law that requires a local referendum, a vote, if the city ever tries to change recreational land, JJ, to some other use, like a fence. You'd have to have a taxpayer vote. I'm not sure exactly how eminent domain would deal with that, but that's not the point of this. I really would ask that each appointee of this committee, if you agree with me, contact the appointees who couldn't make this call, and 100% of us go back to the city council person who named us to these committees and express strongly that we want the city to take a position that the fence or wall should not destroy the beauty of the golf course. And I have the routing, so I can tell you what this reckless engineer named Tim Quillman, Quillman, who's a subcontractor to CBP. He's from Arizona, and he designed this horrible bollard fence that works actually in Arizona and California, but will not work along the river. And so even though I had support from Customs and Border Protection and from project managers of the Corps of Engineers to do what I'm going to suggest to you, this guy Quillman kind of controlled the process and wouldn't agree to it. So what I want them to do, if you're standing at the clubhouse and you're at somebody's wedding and you walk up to that split rail fence, the way they've designed it, you're going to look out. The Vega is going to be peeled, totally cleared. All the cenizo, everything's coming out. Presumably, they're going to landscape it all with Bermuda, presumably, and grow grass down there, or it'll all erode. But let's assume that they do the right thing and they take out the cane, which we all know is sucking a lot of water out of the river, and they make it all beautiful grass, and they build their 30-foot high bollard fence. You're going to see it. So you can look through it to see the river, but it will virtually destroy those river views. The same thing occurs on the ninth green. They're going to have to totally rebuild the ninth green the way they have the routing right now. And then if you're putting on the ninth green and you're looking downriver, you're looking to the right a little bit, 50 feet from the hole, you're going to see a 30-foot high wall. That's all you're going to see. You'll never see the river looking all the way down the way they have it routed right now. Then instead of putting it way down in the Vega where you wouldn't see it along 3, 4, and 5, they've pulled it right up to the cart path. So when you go down in those beautiful mesquite trees that we weave the cart path through, going on 4 there, going to 4, then there'll be a wall on your left. All those mesquite trees will be gone, and you'll just have the carpet. So what they're doing is, quote, saving the golf course, but they're ruining it because Robert Trent Jones designed it to capitalize on these majestic views of the river, which the speech I gave the city council many times, most residents of Laredo don't own farms or ranches on the river, and the only view they've ever had of the river is on a bridge coming in or out of Laredo. So a lot of people go out there and they look at these views and say, wow. So if we want the federal government to achieve what they call their enforcement goals, and we accept that they're going to have some kind of physical barrier, what they should do along the Max golf course is look at the geography. So if you're standing there at that split rail fence and you look straight down, you walk out to the end, you look straight down, that dirt cliff that sloughs off dirt there, that's about 30 feet from top to bottom. And so actually there's about 45 feet of difference between the river level and where you're standing. So what I want them to do is to put a concrete retaining wall along the entire frontage of the golf course, Dennis. In other words, some places don't achieve 30 feet, but where they don't, they could use electronics to keep anybody from climbing over the top of the wall there. They've used 12 and 18-foot wall sections in other parts of the United States, that is from California to Brownsville, but they're dug in on 30 feet at Laredo. So I think this requires resolve on the part of our elected officials. And clearly, the mayor's not on our side because he wants, in my opinion, ridiculous trade, and that is give me a bulkhead for 1 mile in downtown Laredo, and I'll let you do whatever you want on the rest of city land. That's the message he's projected to the government. And then Henry Cuellar, who's my friend, wants a hangar for helicopters. I could give a shit about hangars for helicopters in Laredo. The amenity for our community going forward, and part of the motivation for doing all of this on the city's part and our family's part, was to create something really special in terms of quality of life and sets Laredo apart from every other border city, which this golf course still does. There's still not a signature championship Robert Trent Jones type golf course anywhere else on the river. And so, again, Corps of Engineers can achieve their enforcement goals. It just have to be flexible. And when they design this bollard wall, they have a 20-foot road between the river and the wall, 24 feet. And then on the golf course side of this wall, they have another road for maintenance. So when I proposed this concrete retaining wall and then backfill it and landscape the top of it, this guy says, well, we couldn't maintain that. We need a road on the other side of it. I said, why do you need to maintain a backfilled concrete wall? There is no maintenance. So the maintenance is going to be people coming with saws that they buy at Home Depot and cutting the bollard tubes open and walking through, or the river flooding and knocking bollards out, something like that. So what I'm suggesting is that this concrete wall gives them the protection they want. Nobody could scale it. It would probably end up being somewhere between 18 and 30 feet tall, depending on where you put it. And fine, everybody else that wants a 30-foot high fence on their property, go for it. But the geography is such of this golf course that they don't need to do that. They don't need to ruin the views. Same thing on the 15th green. They're going to put a 30-foot wall 30 feet from the edge of the rough below that green. You'll never see the water or anything to do with the river. My view is it's unnecessary. They don't accomplish any enforcement, any superior enforcement by doing that, and a concrete retaining wall would work perfectly. So that's my speech. I hope you'll talk to your council people and see if we can get unanimity on the part of the council to deal with the Corps of Engineers in a reasonable way. And I think they would agree to this proposal if the city insists on it. But if the city is silent or they read the paper about the mayor's position, they'll just do what they want, which is what they're doing.
Gary, how much frontage on the river do you have, or does the golf course entail?
I think I gave the city over a mile. Let's see. We own.
And it's straight, right? It's a straight shot. There's no bend in the river where you gave it.
No, it's all straight.
Well, then why can't they, talking out of school, but why couldn't they put some kind of like a garita type thing and put a border patrol guy stationed there instead of putting up the damn wall right there?
Well, you're not going to talk about, at least right now, I don't think you're going to talk them out of a wall. I mean, the guy the family who's really led all this is the Faskin family from San Francisco. And there's a really great guy named Bill Skeen who runs real estate for the Faskins. That family, just on principle, because they're not damaged by this nearly as much as the city will be or we will be, but on principle, they've spent almost $1 million in legal fees with some support from IBC, because Dennis and Jerry Schwebel are equally concerned about what they're going to do to the city. But the city hasn't expressed those concerns. I don't think, Louis, that they're going to be open for radical departures from a vertical barrier of some kind. So my proposal for the front of the golf course is let's not see it. Even if they had to rebuild the 9th green and the fairway approach to it, because they insist on 30 feet. There's not 30 feet of elevation there above the river, but they could build that whole hole up. It's their nickel. They're going to spend, what they're spending on this is $4,000 a linear, just so everybody knows. But 1 foot of this bollard fence is $3,850 in the last contract that they led. Everybody on this call could do it for about $200, but Anyway, I think they're going to insist on some kind of vertical structure. All I'm saying is, since the golf course is higher than the river, almost the entire length of it, Dennis, some parts higher than others, they could build up if they're adamant to get 20 or 30 feet, they could build that hole up, but they can't move it. And if they do on the ninth green, if they do what they're proposing, they're going to have to rebuild that hole, and it'll be horrible because you're gonna, if your ball goes towards the river, it's going to bounce off a bollard fence. Whereas my proposal would just be a concrete retaining wall we don't see looking towards the river. It's a mess, but if we're silent, they're going to roll over us. I mean, absolutely, it'll be a big mess. And someone proposed, well, why don't they run the fence along the Mines Road? Well, my response to that is we're starting to develop out there. There's going to be housing along certain holes of the golf course. We're doing schools. We're doing a big affordable housing project with access to the golf course. I don't know how it'll feel to drive through some monster electric gate managed by CBP if you're a soccer mom. I'm not, and I'm not even sure how that feels to a golfer.
And Mr. Jacobs, I think that the commander in chief would echo some of your concerns because he had similar problems when the government in Scotland put up wind turbines on his new golf course and how it ruined the aesthetics of his golf course. So I think that your thoughts would be echoed by the commander in chief on this subject.
I didn't know that. That's really nice. That's a nice detail to know. I'm making a note. See, what I would have done if I was in the position of Pete Sines, since Trump came to Laredo in 2016 as part of his campaign, and Mayor Sines and Horacio and a bunch of people went out and met him at the airport. I would have invited Trump to come play the golf course and do a rally at the Max, and then he would get it, and then he would tell people, "Hey, don't ruin this golf course. We can still have good enforcement." But nobody seems to have done that, so he would probably accept that invitation too.
Well, let me see if I've got this. I think didn't the city already vote to voice their opinion that they were totally against the wall and they weren't willing to negotiate, which I thought was a mistake, and just keeping silent. And I think that we need to, as a committee, I think we really need to push, like Mr. Jacobs said, and say we can't stay silent. I've worked with the Corps of Engineers before, and they're going to move forward regardless. They have their marching orders to move forward, and if we can at least meet with them and try and figure out a way to, not stop at just saying we're against it, and let them move forward. I'm thinking about. I saw some of the plans on Google Maps as far as how it would look, but I think we can. Those slats are going to be coming up on number 3 and number 4 over the trees. You're not going to be able to enjoy the beauty of all that area anymore because of what they're doing. But if we don't have at least more people yelling and not yelling, but communicating with them, I think these guys are just going to move forward. And by the time we get the president in there and we're trying to wait to see if somebody else comes in there, they'll be long gone by then.
This is, you're absolutely right, JJ. This is urgent because they set up a tour with the contractors. They're going to award this contract on this section of the wall either this week or next week. They're going to pick the winner because the bids were submitted. So they went out for an RFP in June or July. They didn't tell anybody that they were doing this. I'm sure the city probably gave them a right of entry to go in and do survey work and soil tests and hydrology tests and all that. We did. They have to notify us when they're going to go in. So they never notified us. They never did anything. We gave them the right to go in and look, and they never notified us. But before they signed our right of entry agreement, Joaquin, they had already done all the engineering. So I asked them when we were together on the site, I said, how did you do that? Oh, we know all this land like the back of our hand. We've been coming in and out of here for years. So what has to happen is the city of Laredo formally needs to notify the Corps of Engineers, we want one of your project manager engineers to come to Laredo and go over with us, walking the golf course, what this is going to do to our municipal golf course. That has to happen. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's all tax money, and I don't think anybody in the food chain wants to get sued by the city of Laredo for 30 or 40 or 50 million dollars of diminution in value of the replacement value of the golf course. If you had to go do this golf course today, it'd probably be $25 million. Buying the water, maybe more, buying the land, all that stuff. They don't want to have to pay for that. They have the right to condemn, but then the city has the right to go to court and say, okay, you got to pay us. This is not about paying. It's about preserving this asset that belongs to the city of Laredo. So, I'm not trying to, a lot of people just want to get more money for their condemned land. I don't want that. I want to, our family doesn't want that. I want to be able to develop, build houses, create a destination for retirees or people from the interior of Mexico that don't want to go to San Antonio or Dallas or somewhere, for locals. I want to make it special, and the river is what makes it special. And of course, the golf course. So the Corps of Engineers has to hear formally from the city of Laredo, hey guys, slow down. We need to have a conversation about this. I don't think that conversation's ever taken place, and they're going to award the contract the first week of October. It's a design build contract, but still, it seems to me formally the city of Laredo should say, we need to have a serious visit with you guys on site about what you're planning to do. I've had that, but I'm not aware anybody from the city has had that.
Mr. Jacobs, so I hope I didn't interrupt. I just wanted to know, I think that the plan of meeting with this contractor and discussing what they're planning on doing to the golf course, but I think it might be smart of us to get a valuation of what the federal government's going to have to pay in order to compensate justly the city of Laredo. And if your plan ends up saving the federal government money in developing their barrier, then that's another way I think they will be incentivized to follow your plan as opposed to what they're planning on doing. So I think we couch it not in terms of the aesthetics of the golf course, because if I'm working for the federal government, I'm thinking I don't give a shit about that. But if I say it's going to save you money, then I think that we have their attention.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I wrote the Corps of Engineers a 5-page email basically articulating and showing exhibits of everything that you and I have talked about now for the last 15 or 20 minutes with no reply so far. But the one conference call that I did, because they wouldn't let this guy Quillman meet with me on site, we did a WebEx call, had 30 people from CVP and Corps of Engineers and their consulting engineers on. And I went through all of this, and the real estate people from Corps of Engineers understand what you just said. But this guy Quillman chimed in and he said, too late. We're going to build what I designed. Well,
Wow.
One of the contractors bidding it I met with, he said, well, his design will never work along the golf course, Mr. Jacobs. But see, the city's not engaged. I have no standing at all to be discussing this with the Corps of Engineers on behalf of the city. I'm just a taxpayer who loves the beauty of the golf course and those great views for weddings and standing on the ninth green. So just like the mayor, I have my opinion, but the city needs to formally notify Corps of Engineers, hey, are you forgetting about us? To your point.
Yes, sir.
How do we go about this committee? I think I don't know, either we put it in writing so that you can formally hand deliver it to Robert Eads, and then it become part of an agenda item that they have to read publicly, and then get some public input on that. But this needs to happen fast. I mean, I just think that a public comment that says we're totally against the wall, well, that's fine. But I think they just sat on their hands, and like I said, I've worked with these guys before, and the attitude that general contractor gave Mr. Jacobs is precisely the type of people that they are. They're people that have no sensitivity or no empathy for any of our feelings down here. And so you either have to go and stop those people through the Corps of Engineers, or sue them, or file an injunction, or do whatever you're going to do. But that guy right there is a primary example of the hard-headedness, the stupidity behind doing all of this, just to get it done, just for the sake of getting it done. I guarantee you one thing, though, that I haven't seen all the layout on the geos and all that thing that they're going to have, but I foresee that wall falling down just like the one in New Mexico. That they want to build right away without taking your time to consult with everybody around, and then moving forward from there. But I guess what I'm saying is we need to put a letter together for this committee so that we can give it to Robert, so that Robert can approach the council and they can move on it fast. Because if we do it by word of mouth through each councilman, they're not going to jump on it. There's no way. They're not going to tell Ray Robert, put it on the agenda. We sort of have to act in that manner so that we're following protocol and putting pressure on Robert to put it on the agenda. If need be that we have to be there to speak for that letter as a committee, then so be it. But I think if we speak to them individually, we're not going to get anywhere.
Well, you're probably right, because it is urgent, because it's imminent that they're going to start condemnation proceedings, and like I said, they've already received responses to the RFP. I don't remember how many contractors replied, but the Faskins have offered actually to pay all the legal fees for the city to do kind of the response that you're just talking about. But the then city attorney didn't respond to them. I mean, Faskin has a brilliant appellate lawyer in Austin named Douglas Alexander, super guy. And there's a lot of lawsuits kind of going up and down. And I repeat, I'm not interested in litigation. I'm interested in reasoning with them so that they understand why they shouldn't want to encourage litigation. They ought to do the right thing. Now, maybe they won't, but I agree with you, JJ, that it needs to get on the agenda. This committee ought to come up with a statement. It could be simple. We don't want to voluntarily deed any land to them, and whatever physical barrier they propose should not block views from the golf course. That's it. It's that simple. Is that none of what they're going to do should be seen from the golf course or destroy the Robert Trent Jones design of the golf course.
I agree.
This is JJ. So, Rick, your recommendation, would you all want to come up with a letter as a committee, and we can take it up, and I think that as far as your concerns are concerned, as far as your concerns,
You can be as specific as you want. I think, but the statement made was that we need to have the city backing us up and the right word being reasoning with these people, but they need to get involved right away. So you can either shoot off an email this afternoon to Robert and say, hey, this is what the committee came up with. How fast can we move on it? Then at this point, all the major points that Mr. Jacobs just talked about right now would be incredible for these people. I wish that you could send them a copy of what Mr. Jacobs just said so that they can hear exactly. I mean, that's perfectly put. So, but that at a moment's notice, like right now, would be to either shoot an email over to Robert and say, we need to have some sort of action taken by city council to do this, and we'll fill him in on the details as we move forward. But this needs to happen fast, and that's I think the big message here. It has to be put on the agenda so they can formalize it. I mean, I don't even know if they know about the Faskins willing to do what they're doing, and they're not, like I said, they're just crossing their arms or throwing their arms in the air and not moving on it. I think if this committee reacts, we can get some action.
Is there any reason why we can't have an emergency meeting next week and have Mr. Eads present to hear us out? I mean, I think a personal touch would be better than a formal letter.
Well, we could, but next week I think they will have probably the Corps of Engineers is going to take some action here pretty quick. It just seems to me, Joaquin, that there's a lot of cross currents here. See, because the city manager technically works for the city council. It's a strong council manager government. But the mayor is now on public record ostensibly speaking for the whole city of Laredo in the eyes of the Corps of Engineers. And we did a conference call, Faskin, IVC, me, with the mayor and Henry Cuellar about a week or 10 days ago. And the mayor's position was clear. I care about the 4,000 federal law enforcement officers here, and I don't want to do anything to run them off, which is a ridiculous statement because no matter what position the city of Laredo takes, of course, we all embrace our law enforcement community. Matter of fact, I had suggested to Tricia Cortez, instead of writing in the street, defund the wall, if they had to do that, I would have put defund the wall - fund law enforcement. They wouldn't put it in there. So law enforcement's not our enemy on this. I mean, we're all for law enforcement and border enforcement. It's just the city has to say, and Joaquin, I don't think it's quite as easy, I hope it is, as the city manager taking a position, because there are cross currents. Henry Cuellar wants peace and tranquility in Washington so he can get a $24 million hangar that Gary Jacobs doesn't care about. And the mayor wants some stupid thing on the river downtown by the park. But in the meantime, when Mercurio went public and said, we don't want this razor wire, the mayor basically contradicted him and said, well, we have to do what law enforcement wants. Well, why give away all your park frontage and golf frontage for a bulkhead that's going to have razor wire on top of it? It doesn't make any sense at all. They ought to just leave downtown alone. Wherever they come to city land, they ought to use electronic surveillance instead of physical barriers. All these conversations should have taken place 6 months ago. So yeah. It's a fire drill, and if y'all are successful in convincing the city to put it on the agenda, yes, we ought to go speak and be passionate about why it's important to the image of the city of Laredo not to destroy these views on 3 view corridors on the golf course. It's that simple. what they're doing everywhere else is a shame, but we shouldn't let them destroy the views of this golf course without opening our mouths.
Agreed.
So, JJ, how do you want to communicate this? I mean, I do agree with Joaquin. If we could have a visit with the city manager, would be great. But it's really the city council that has to instruct the city manager. Here's what we want you to do.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe you can talk to your respective city council members so they can put it on the agenda. That way we can, so it can be discussed. But I don't know, but the next city council meeting is not till, I think, 2 weeks. Is that right? Come on.
Isn't it today?
Today we have one. Yes, sir. Today we have one. I know it's already posted. And then the next one is not till October the 12th, I think. Or I'm sorry, October
5th, Coach.
October 5th.
I forgot parliamentary procedure, but is there a way that a letter from this committee could be presented, new business or something on the agenda tonight? I don't know how that works. I used to, when I went to city council meetings often, I would just go sit and listen to the whole meeting. And if there was something interesting at the end, they had a provision where, you could ask to be addressed or ask to speak or something like that and say, here, I want to present you this letter, and you could read it.
I'm sorry, there's public comments that can be, I think that would be, Danny, correct me on this, and Ramon, can be turned in before 5 o'clock today.
That'd probably be best to the city secretary is the one in charge of that, so he'd be the best person to speak about this. Yeah, just go online to the city's website, and you should be able to submit your comments there.
Well, it would have to be a committee. See, in other words, I don't think it does any good for Gary Jacobs to do it. It has to be the golf committee, which was named by each city council person, who unanimously says, this is a serious issue for us and the city should pay attention to it. I mean, I think that's the way to do this. If we could get a letter to that effect on behalf of the golf committee that we had a meeting and those present unanimously endorsed the following 15 words or 20 words and try to submit it tonight to the city council, that would be worth something, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Jay, maybe we can contact Joe Valdez on this. Figure out, what the procedure is for that. But I agree that, we can't wait 2 weeks. This is, we're trying to condense 6 months that should have happened before into 1 day and a moment's notice. But I really think that this committee needs to have that response in.
I can try and call, if you want me to, I can try and call Joe Valdez right now, see if he answers, and then we can ask him questions.
Sure.
If you don't mind, let me see if he answers, and then if we have any questions and how we can do it.
Why don't you do that? Yeah.
Hold on just a minute.
This is Lou again. Does anybody know if the intent is to build a continuous wall, or are there going to be any gaps in this wall from Arizona to Brownsville, or is it going to be wall all the way?
Oh, there's going to be gaps. There's going to be a gap in
Okay, well, why can't there be a gap here?
I'm having a.
You get lost?
No, I think he put it on mute. They're not going to do the Big Bend. They're not going to do Amistad, and they're going to do parts of Falcon.
Well, then why can't we be on the same page?
Well, the problem is that they already issued the RFP, and so they're going to award this contract. And what they keep telling me is, well, it's a design build contract. so you can negotiate all this with the contractor. Well, the only way you're going to negotiate with a contractor if you're the city of Laredo is to sue them. That's the only way, because they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, I got it." I mean, they're in business to make money, and these contractors are cleaning up on the stupidity of this whole exercise. So, if they award the contract, Louis, which they're going to do, for sure they're going to do that, then the city of Laredo has to, get Doug Alexander or somebody and sue the contractor and CBP and everybody and say, stop. We need to have a come to Jesus meeting about what you're doing here, and that'll probably work.
Excuse me, committee members, I got Mr. Joe Valdez, city secretary, on the phone. I don't know if you can, Joe, can you all hear, can you hear us, Joe?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Joe.
I was going to say that if you want, maybe you can contact the council member, and if it's the item that you wanted to speak on, is it on the agenda itself?
No, it's not in the agenda right now.
Okay. Then what I would suggest is that maybe you make your concerns, or the committee forward their concerns to the council member, and if there's an item placed on the agenda, and to that point, either do an in-person appearance or do a WebEx type of thing. Because if it's not on the agenda, then it's going to be hard to do any of that right now. And the deadline for in-person and or noon of the day of the meeting. And so it's already past that deadline. So I don't know if you just want to make comments in general. You're welcome to make written comments, as also what the city accepts, and those are up until 5:45.
This is Gary Jacobs. Jose, how are you?
Hey, Mr. Jacobs, how are you?
So I guess the question is, what our goal is to get the city, to city management to be instructed by the council to notify the Corps of Engineers that before they proceed on condemnation along the golf course, that they consult with the city and the golf committee, and the award of the contract is imminent because the Corps of Engineers and CBP are moving at warp speed. So, how can we formally tonight call this to the attention of the council?
Again, I think if you talk to the council member or a council member, any council member you might know, and express those concerns and have them express it to the city during the meeting or to the city manager, and that would probably be the best bet to have that. Or put your concerns in writing, and if you go to City of Laredo webpage, where agendas and minutes are, there's a witness card, and you can fill that virtually on the internet and submit it, and they'll be able to read it into the record. And so they'll be aware, but I would also suggest you talk to any council member that you may know to make those, to express those concerns that you might have. That would be the best way to make sure that that's addressed during the meeting and or with the city manager afterwards.
And you're saying, so number one, talk to a council person. Number two, you could submit comments that would be read at this meeting?
Yes, and those you could still make them up until 5:45.
Is this a physical meeting tonight that someone could attend, or is it just a virtual meeting?
No, the council, most of the council members are there. Some I think are going to be online, virtually, and staff's there, but the public is close to the public. And the only way that normally the public can go is if they submit a request to be there in public to make a public comment. But the request is done by noon of today, because you have to also submit some information requiring COVID and all this other questionnaire that has to be answered and reviewed by the health department. So the council had set a deadline of noon of the day of the meeting, and so that passed.
Okay, so
so that's why I'm saying I think the best bet right now would talk to your council members, make sure that they bring up that item or issue during discussions on the wall, and or submit something in writing. And then it will be officially read into the record as your comments.
Okay. Can you tell me again how you do it in writing?
Okay, you go to the citylaredo.com, and there you're going to see where it says council meeting. You click on the little icon that says council meeting. That'll open up another page, and during that page it has agendas and minutes, and to the far right there's a column that says witness card. Click on that, and it'll open up another page, and it's right there. It shows what you need to fill out. It'll ask you for your name, your address, if you're with an organization, etc. But there's a section that says comment. That's where you put your written comment and your concerns, and then that'll be read into the record.
Okay.
Submit at the bottom, and that'll be sent off.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Anytime.
Hey, Joe, this is Rick Garza, Joe. I need to, is there anything else that you might suggest that we can do with moving this thing forward without necessarily going through the formal processes of getting the council to either ratify or to accept?
I'm sorry, you said there's anything more that can be done besides
Let's say,
council tonight?
yeah, without having to deal with the city council, let's say. And in terms of the,
I mean, your senator, whoever, I mean, it really is at the federal level, and those are the ones that are going to be able to jump in and say something.
so
To the mayor directly también.
well, I'm thinking that we should also continue to go through EADS and see anything that they can do, even if they don't move on this, on what we're going to do virtually right now. If they don't move on that, and I'm wondering if we can do anything to talk to the city manager, to tell the city council.
You guys can talk as a committee. I mean, if the city manager is available, I mean, you can also always reach out to him directly and tell him your concerns so that he can make sure that's expressed if he has discussions with the federal level.
It's just that
Just directly talk to him. I mean,
does he move? Does he not move unless he gets instructions from city council, or does he bring items forward so city council can move on them?
it just depends on the issues. Sometimes if he expresses some concerns, and he'll express concerns from the community to the council if the issues on the agenda.
Okay.
So that's also an opportunity there if you can't reach out to any council members to bring up the item or the items. I'm not sure if the item's on the meeting tonight or part of it where you could jump in and discuss that, but at least he knows the concerns as a group or individually. I mean, you can always express those to them, to the council, and to the city manager and the mayor. And they're the ones that are going to be really dealing with the federal level.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll have to go.
Very helpful. Thank you.
All right. Any other question for Joe? Joe, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for taking the call.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So, AJ, what do y'all think? How do we
I
proceed?
think in previous, what I've seen in previous, you submitted comments, and then the comment, if you kind of what he said, you submit the comments, and if you give your council member a heads up, so when that comment comes up, they can discuss it right then and there. Being that we're kind of short on time right now, you understand me? So,
Yeah. Well, but see, to me, it has to be the committee that's making the comment, not me individually.
Yeah, no, but if each committee, when it's reach out to the committee members and talk to the councilman between now and this afternoon, and let's say Rick writes a letter or Mr. Geisler writes a letter, you write a letter, hey, wait a minute, where's all this coming from? Just a concern, It's just open for public comments, but at the same time, what I've seen before, when a topic comes up, they discuss it, even though it's not on the agenda, But if you're correct, if more than the more the better, so that they can hear about it. Oh, you know what? Somebody, Mr. is going to make a comment, or we got another comment. Let's say you write a letter, Rick sends an email. Joe Garza sends an email, or Joaquin sends an email, and we go from there. Then they already know what's coming, so they can discuss that. Being that it's tonight.
So can everybody on the call do that? I don't know if Joaquin's still on.
I don't see Joaquin on anymore.
Okay.
I could give Ms. Vilma a call, see if I can get through to her.
Is that you, Joe?
That's me, yeah, Joe Garza.
Okay.
I'm going to attempt to get a hold of Ms. Vilma.
Okay. And then just put an email, Mr. Jacobs, on your behalf of the chair, on your behalf of the rest of the committee that concerns, and then name them, or if Joe wants to send something, and then Rick wants to send something, they can put it together.
We don't have all the committee members here, so I'm reluctant to speak on behalf of the whole committee because we're not all here. I think maybe each committee member writing in their capacity as a member of the golf committee appointed by a respective councilman.
Correct. I think that will carry a lot of weight. It's off.
I'll do my part. I mean, as far as I can write the letter for.
Okay.
And pretty much express what we talked about already.
Right. And then just call your councilman and give him a heads up.
I don't know if Joaquin got to hear most of it about what we're trying to do, but I'll go ahead and text him right now and see if he can do the same.
Okay.
The other committee members also, just so that everybody's on the same page and see if they can put a couple of paragraphs together and send them over to them.
Yeah.
All we really want is for their ears to come up and say something's going on out there.
Right.
And let's just sit down with them without having to wait these next 2 weeks without doing anything.
Correct.
I think having the word urgent in there is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary, was your recommendation, was it completely blown out of the water as far as what you're thinking about the wall?
No, I sent them, two long emails with a map of color coded of where I thought they should do a retaining wall and where it would still be appropriate to do a fence as long as you couldn't see the fence from the golf course or see the retaining wall from the golf course. In other words, if you were indocumentado, you'd see this huge wall, but if you're standing with a glass of wine in your hand or a beer at the back of the clubhouse, you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And that's the sensitive and cheapest way for them to do this, and much more effective. A concrete retaining wall is just going to require less maintenance over the years than a metal bollard fence, which is going to corrode and have debris in it and be undermined. The footing for that fence is only 7 feet deep. The first big release of water from Amistad will just wash it away.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, they could come back and say, you know what, you're right. We're just going to run it right through all the land between the golf course and the river, and we'll leave all that alone. Well, then that'll be a big lawsuit from us, and be much more complicated. The smart thing to do is a retaining wall that you don't see.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Joaquin just emailed me that he had to get off, but he spoke to his councilman, and the councilman is willing to address it. Councilman Bali. But I told him that Rick, if you reach out to him, explain to what each committee member is going to do between now for the meeting, so you can kind of give him some
We'll talk to Joaquin right now.
some guidance. Okay.
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
so the alternative then will be when I speak to Mercurio's my guy, and so I tell him, I say, hey, what can you do to help us out here? And the alternative that we suggest is what Gary suggested, correct?
Yeah, wherever there's wherever they feel like they need a physical barrier instead of a bollard wall, They should do
Okay.
a concrete retaining wall right against the cliff. I guess use the word cliff, because all the farmland and mesquite land that we gave the city is much higher than the river. So they can achieve some section of wall. It may not be 30 feet in all cases, but where they don't get 30 feet, they can use electronic surveillance on top of it.
Exactly.
And so the other thing that the urgent message is that, but it also includes the city reaching out and bringing them to the table rather than just avoiding them, right?
Correct. The city has to be proactive and notify Corps of Engineers and CBP tomorrow that, don't think about condemning any city land on the golf course without a more serious conversation of what you're planning to do there with the city of Laredo.
Right.
If it was me, I'd do the same thing on the water plant and all the rest of it. I wouldn't just let them do what they want to do, because what they want to do is horrible.
Yeah, they want to go in real fast. Okay.
Okay, Rick.
JJ, this is Joe. To summarize here, we're going to have an item on the as a public comment at tonight's council meeting, correct?
Yes, on the public comment.
And that's where I can tell my council.
Yes.
That comments are going to be read out.
Right.
And this is the meat behind what our committee's recommending.
Exactly right. And then if 4 or 5 of you all send it in, then at least that's 5 council members that know what's going on. So that way they know there's a heads up coming up on public comments.
Okay, but all we need to do is submit one written request to have a public comment, correct?
You can, and then Mr. Gary Jacobs can, and then Rick Garza can. Each one of you. That way it carries more weight, Joe.
Okay.
And we're speaking in our capacity as members of the city.
Correct. Right.
Correct. Okay. Very good.
All right. Okay. Anything else? I guess we can move on to the last item. Is the Max Golf Course Management Company presentation? I know Dennis wanted to go over a couple of things that we've moved out there and what things that we bought, so we can. I'll let you all know. I know you all need to make some phone calls. So, Dennis, did you want to just let them know what the carts we got and how we're starting out, how we're doing over there? But I'm sorry, with the screens.
Screens. Yeah, no, we moved on to get dividers. We were getting a lot of people that wanted to play early, and we couldn't let them play because we were limited to only 75 carts at once. But we've gotten some dividers, so we're gonna be able to go ahead and increase our carts availability. So we'll be able to get everybody in to play in the mornings before the sun is, at 12 o'clock noon. But also at the same time, weather's getting better, so it should all get, a lot busier for us, even though we've been very busy.
Okay.
So Dennis, please tell Tom Horseman that the chairman of the Greens Committee of the San Antonio Country Club is jealous.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one full. It was 12 months ago when a disastrous plague hit those greens, and I'm very proud of the work and how far we came along in such a short period of time to get them back to normal. But I didn't have any faith latter part of December, January, that we were going to ever be at this level again. But good work.
And who did that? I was unaware of that.
We got a little bit of crabgrass in the winter and it spread out, but Tom went ahead and really hit it hard right during February, March, and April, and he got them back to normal. And then the little rain that we have gotten really has helped us out. We've got some of the best greens we've ever had in the 8 years we've been open.
Yeah, I was out there yesterday. The golf course looks pretty good. I was bummed out to see a pig track out there in one of the sand traps. And I know we still have at least one pig trap out there, but I think somebody needs to set that thing to get that pig out of there.
Dennis, is there a pig in the inside the fence?
Yeah, I saw his tracks. There's no confusing a pig track. It's totally different than deer. So you got one out there.
Dennis, there shouldn't be any penetrations of that pig fence. I mean, y'all are
There
supposed
is.
to be maintaining that and watching the skirt on it. And if there's a pig in there, you need to get somebody with night vision goggles and fill the
Well, we
pig.
can do that, Gary. That's easy enough to take care of. They just need to sour some corn up and set those traps, and we'll catch the damn thing and get out of there. It's not a big deal, but it needs to be done.
Ahead and set up
Whose
the traps.
traps are those? Whose pig traps are there out there?
Laredo.
Mine, but I gave them to the cities, and maybe the cities added more.
Oh, cool. Well, they're damn good traps, and so we could go out there and set the traps ourselves, or not.
It's up to the city. I gave all that to the city when we gave them the pump site.
Well, okay. Well, then somebody needs to address it with the city.
Well, we can set them up, Dennis. If you need help with or whatever, we can just let us know so we can. I can send some people out there and set all these up, whatever you need.
Okay.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no problem. I'll go ahead and get with maintenance to see if they have any reports on anything that they've seen, and we'll set up the corn and all that stuff, and see if we can catch anything that's out there. We did have 2 jabalines, and we still don't know how they got in about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But the maintenance staff reported that they actually saw them crossing through the cow, whatever you want to call that, but they would use the middle portion of it so that they wouldn't get caught. And we're like, wow.
In the middle of the road?
You know how our gate has for the cows, or the cattle guards, I'm sorry.
Right.
And in the middle is what we use to walk when we lock the gates and all that. And they said that the jabalines had learned to walk through the middle of that to avoid getting caught in the cattle guard.
Wow.
You ought to pick that up. Maybe that's how the pigs got in.
Yeah,
No. The tracks I saw were pigs. Okay, and so let's set the trap.
Dennis, a hog will destroy this golf course. I mean, so that's.
No, we've shot one before with Mark's, when Mark Soto was in as the greenskeeper. He went and bought one of those little arrow guns or whatever they're called, and he went ahead and talked to the city of Laredo, and they said you can go ahead and shoot it with that, and they did. They found it and they got it. Usually maintenance is the first one to report me on anything that they see out there, whether it's mountain lion or bobcats or whatever. They haven't seen one yet, but like Mr. Pellegrin said, they saw one, so I'll go ahead and alert them to it, and we'll start getting the hog fences ready. I mean the hog traps.
And then have somebody with a weed eater walk the perimeter of the fence, and if there's any holes under that skirt that we laid down, or if vegetation has lifted it up, then they have to put it back, because we paid $85,000, including some of my money, to build that pig fence, but it has to be maintained.
My guess is that with our rains, it just eroded, Gary, and down there where towards the Vega, and pigs will go under. That's what they like to do is dig under, and then it's over with.
Well, so JJ, I don't know if Tom Horseman can do all this, but
I can do it.
you remember Chacha Benavides built that fence. She knows how to build a good pig fence, but the exterior is a skirt, that they can't crawl under. But like Louis is saying, if it eroded under there, it needs every once in a while some remedial work, but we need to keep that clean. In other words, there should be a lane around it where you could get in an ATV or one of the golf maintenance cart, those John Deeres, and drive around it. I'm not sure you can do that anymore.
Right. It got kind of thick. Well, once we can, I understand we can send a crew up there and start identifying Dennis to see where there's a place that there's an opening or something, so we can get that thing taken care of.
Yeah, there has to be an opening somewhere, because this is the first time I've ever seen that, you know, for several years that it's been there. So, you know, but it can be taken care of. We just need to get after it.
Yeah, we'll coordinate with Dennis and send the crew over there and put the traps up, and then also the same as well as Mr. Jacobs said, start. I mean, I know it's kind of thick to get in with along the fence line, along the pick line to right now, but start walking or driving the course around, see if we can identify some areas.
Okay.
I will get on it.
Okay, guys. Good meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, just think we could. Any items for next meeting that you would like to put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah, Jerry, I'd like to see if we can, I know Dennis and I have been talking about some, and I don't even want to call it a capital improvement. Just anything added that we talked about, Dennis, to start kicking the ball around on some of the things that you might want to see out there, to I guess make it a more efficient, more desirable experience when we go play golf. We were talking about that, a food area at number 12, or in between 12 and I don't know if you wanted like a low permanent structure there or just something that's mobile for weekends when it gets really busy there, that you have more guys have more accessibility to food and water and all that kind of stuff in that area. So, but let's just bring it up so that we can talk about it and get some ideas going.
Okay. I know like a little miniature mobile unit as well, or not a food truck, but something that you can mobilize it as well.
Yes, we talked to a couple of people, or we've shopped it around, and I've talked to Miss Stanley, and I've sent her some information on it. It's just like a food trailer that would allow us, so whenever, let's say, the lemurs come back, or we got an event down at the outlets or whatever, we can take it out there, showcase the Max Burger, showcase the Max shirts, and hand out stuff like that, and then you just close it up and lock it up, and then you drive it back. But in a situation like we are right now in the pandemic, it would really come in helpful if we ever hit some sort of situation where, okay, well, the restaurant's closed, and it's kind of hard because, people, they need to be seeing the food or smelling it. But now if you put something around the driving range or hole 12, and then it's going to have a nice Max logo and all that, people could actually take advantage of it and maybe increase our sales.
Well, actually, Dennis, council last week passed that they're going to start allowing little food trucks and mobile units to go to different parks and start selling things. So, it's they just passed it last week that you can have units to go sell at parks, or you can have something there and you have it, and let's say you says an event somewhere, you can drive it around. So right now they just passed it last week, just FYI. Okay.
Good. It's just, bring it up and we'll go over it, see how we can get it done.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Any other meeting? Any other business?
Can we start doing this monthly already, like this?
Yeah, we'll get back. We'll start going, and I apologize for having it on Monday, but we are scheduled to do it on Thursday, the third Thursday of the month, which will be October the 15th, the next meeting.
Hold on, let me just look real quick. Let's see.
October 15th.
At 12 o'clock.
I think you did good in surveying everybody before.
Right.
As it gets closer, that way we don't have to get set on any date.
Okay. Well, let's just tentatively put it for October the 15th, and then I'll get Gloria to about 2 weeks before to give you all a call. All right. So that we agree, we got to post the agenda 3 days before, so we want to make sure we put it in on time. Okay.
All righty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Go ahead and
write your comment.
Go ahead and motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
I move for adjournment.
Who seconded? Rick Asa seconded, I think. Okay, gentlemen, have a good day. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
hopefully we'll see you out on the golf course soon.